Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Tahir and you're watching SDTV. If someone still want to see a catastrophe, I would suggest they should go to Sindh and Balochistan when the whole area was inundated and the destruction was at the level of the civilizations. So the whole of civilization was washed away. If I say it would not be totally wrong. In history also, we had very old civilization, Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. Nobody knows why it was gone, but it could have been, I mean, similar catastrophe or something. But this time it was humongous because millions of people were displaced from there. They were left with nothing, no house, no. Actually, the area for some time was actually demonetized. So the help came in, and still, if you go after 3 years, you would see that some of the people are still sitting on the dikes and makeshift things, and they do not have a place to go back. But some help had been, however, a drop of water, but help had been coming. Obviously, $30 billion loss cannot be met with. They cannot compensate any sort of help. It will take time because the generations have been affected. But we'll talk today about one party that came with the help, some help with the collaboration of German development funding and the UNDP came and they are working there. We have today with us a very relevant guest. To my left is Mr. Shiraz Ali Shah. He's also with the UNDP.
Yes,
Thank you very much for coming
you're
in.
welcome.
And in my front is Amna Akhtar. She's also with the UNDP. And Shiraz, I would start with you. Give us some backdrop of the intervention you have done it or you still doing it. Then we'll rumble on as a basic premise.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much for this invitation and congratulations to STPI on holding this very important event. I'm here to talk about a very special project that is funded by the German government. It's called the Flood Reconstruction and Coordination Program. And it is a unique project which was created jointly by KfW and UNDP in the aftermath of 2022 floods. As mentioned, the floods inundated one-third of the country at their peak and caused losses and damages exceeding $30 billion to the national economy. Now, the German government, along with the UNDP, was one of the first development partners to step in with this one of a kind project, which, in addition to providing recovery assistance to the flood affected populations, aimed to strengthen the existing systems for recovery coordination. And this was aimed primarily at the Ministry of Planning and Development, where the project supported in creation of a RRU, which is the Reconstruction and Rehabilitation Unit, which was a sustainable mechanism within the government of Pakistan to not only meet the challenges posed by the 2022 floods, as well as the future flooding events and disasters. Uh, One thing that makes this project special is its focus on transparency and accountability. While other projects, they look at institutional capacity development, training of staff, but the primary foundation of this project was around transparency. And there are a number of interventions designed for this. The second important part of the project is to enhance the government's capacity in monitoring the implementation of and the impact of the recovery projects. This is also a first of its kind in Pakistan. It hasn't happened before. So under the project, World Bank was also one of the partners, and they created a detailed monitoring and evaluation framework under which the progress and, more importantly, the impact of recovery and reconstruction could be assessed. The second important thing under the project is the engagement of the beneficiary communities, where the project reaches out to the communities that are not benefiting but are the clients of the reconstruction efforts. And their feedback is obtained through a number of innovative mechanisms to improve the delivery of the project, not only this project, but all the projects working under the flood reconstruction program. Additionally, lastly, the project aims at providing housing reconstruction to the worst affected populations in Quetta district. And under that component, almost 700 houses are being rebuilt. And what's special about it is that they are climate and disaster resilient, they are climate friendly, and they are inclusive. So they cater to the needs of all the segments of the society. Let me tell you about the indicators. I mean, if you can say what is the impact of the project. I mean, just to give you an example, in 2025 flooding event, the government collected all the damage and loss data on its own and using their own resources in a very short time. And I'm pleased to inform you that the RRU, or the Recovery, Reconstruction and Rehabilitation Unit, the system strengthened by this project, they took the lead and collected all the information even before reaching out to the development partners for undertaking a disaster need assessment. So
Right.
that is one of the
Right.
indicators of the
Right.
success.
Amna, it's our experience when in such a disaster, aid comes from all nook and corner and people would throng to give in aid. But sometime that easy come and easy go, that is missed. So monitoring is important, then making it transparent through whatever mechanism acceptable to all the stakeholders, that is also important, and reconstruction take its place automatically. What do you think is the overall impact of these two? Because they create the knowledge repository for the later to use and just to build upon the procedures. We have seen reconstruction after the earthquake in 2005. There was a lot of money because Pakistan was would enjoy a great influence with the West. They needed us, so the money was about they wanted less, but the 5 billion came. But I've seen some of the construction, they're very compliant because IRA was very functional at that time and the person who was. What do you think? Do you think you have succeeded in, however small, in the whole sea of aid and reconstruction, you have succeeded in building some island?
Absolutely. And I think, to your point, I think it's very important when you're thinking of reconstruction recovery efforts, thinking about sort of optimizing our impact and sort of if there's limited resources. And this is something that we've seen, particularly in the aftermath of 2022 floods, where the global community did come together with pledges and sort of commitments. But hasn't been as much follow through.
And they were
So
loans as well.
they were
Yes.
loans, and for that to realize in sort of tangible funding has been limited or not as far to expectations. And that's where I think particularly this assistance with the government of Germany has sort of a huge sort of potentially cascading impact because as one of the first responses, whatever resources or support we're providing, it can have a catalytic impact. And to your question, whether we've been able to sort of potentially start some of that conversation around enhanced transparency and accountability, I would definitely say so. And I guess for us, I think what really matters, and I think has been a continuous focus of UNDP as well as KFW, is reconstruction, but also building it back better, making sure that we're actually building real resilience to these communities. Because unfortunately, as we've seen this year, these are no longer one-off events, and our sort of country continues to face increased vulnerabilities. Obviously, we're still in the midst of implementation, but we're very confident that while our reconstruction models may be slightly different than some of the other partners, the investment in terms of the designs and the climate resilience materials we're using will definitely pay off in the long run. And similarly, I think, but just as Shiraz mentioned, equally important is to making sure that the government's internal systems and institutional mechanisms are aligned and sort of capable to be able to sort of take this on, these sort of efforts. And I think some of that we're seeing some signs of that again this year when we're hit with a similar disaster. That within the institutions themselves, there's as well as our own sort of response, there has been a more coordinated response, and some lessons that we're already bringing in from that experience. So
Right.
yes, so it's a start. I think there's a lot that still needs to be done, but we're hopefully getting
Yeah,
there.
just because of the shortage of
Yes.
time, it's a small interaction. I would just like to ask you last question. What is one takeaway would you like to present it? I mean, you want to not blot, but
Right.
present it on the table. Then
So
I'll ask Amna the same
right.
question.
So for this project, I think once again I have to appreciate the German government's stance that the focus of this project, the foundation on which it is built on, is transparency and accountability. I think that is the key takeaway
We
from this
can we
project.
can quote from this project this accountability and transparency thing as a best practice.
Yes, which can
Yes,
be repeated for future
repeated for
projects as
future,
well.
right? Adopting for the
Yes.
best practice. Right. So, Amna, what is your other than this?
Other than this, I think then I would say other than this is the focus on the community specific and context specific needs. I think really spending the time to understand, and one size fits all solution may not work, and understanding that and being able to adapt to that.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving
Thank you.
time. So the bottom line is that in such disaster, the need should be tailored. For every community, it should be tailored. Then the aid and whatever money or the effort is funneled in or the put in should reach the community. Then there should be some mechanism for monitoring it. So it should not be leaked away or it should not be wasted. It should not be put on the floor. And last, it should be transparent. And the pressure of that transparency, I'm not calling for naming and shaming anyone, but if you make something transparent, it becomes all the more difficult for opportunists or for the people who are engaged or to waste the money on other dilly-dally things. So it reaches its target. So I think if all these things are correct on the ground, this is an example of best practices that can be followed. Obviously, tailored to the other needs and the other projects need and the circumstances and time and everything. But I think it can be quoted like that. With this, we come to the end of the program. I say goodbye on the margin of the 28th Sustainable Development Conference, which is right now taking place in Islamabad. Allama Iqbal Open University is the venue. Please come and join the conferences and listen to this program as well. Bye for now.